what I tell people is the least expensive footage I build is second story footage or basement footage. Right. And the reason being is those things are already there. My second story footage is under roof. The foundation's already there, the slab's there, the roof is there. If we take out a game room on your second floor, if your house is round number, say $300 a foot, and we take out 300 feet of a game room, we did not save $300 a foot.
No.
We saved maybe $100 a foot.
That's
right. And you nailed something that I tell all the time. I'm like, not all square footage is equal.
No. Hey, welcome back to Building, Brews, and Barbecue. Today we've got a special bonus episode. And why I call it the bonus is we really threw out a ton of information in our last episode.
We could have kept going.
Yeah. But let's take it from the top, right? I'm Vince Longo, one of your co-hosts. And
I'm Nathan Walters, your other co-host.
I build in Atlanta, Georgia.
I build in Edmond, Oklahoma.
And we're just two guys that try to get along.
I'm not trying to get along with him anymore. I'm pretty wore out.
Well, anyway, at the end of the last episode, we really unpacked a lot into it, and it was about your power team and pre-construction.
Yep.
And I feel like we opened up Pandora's box because I said, "Hey, if anybody's got any questions, please DM us."
Yeah.
For more. And they ever pile in?
Unbelievable.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to take 2 days off just to process it.
Oh yeah.
A little shell shocked.
Okay, I get it. I understand.
It's good that people are actually listening.
Yeah.
I thought we only had 2 listeners.
Well, who's that?
My mom and my wife. Anyway, but it was some great questions. So we just wanted to do real quick, expand on some of those things to give you even more benefit, right?
That's right.
And that's why we're calling it the bonus.
Yep.
And so we know you paid a lot of money for that first episode.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to give this free.
Yeah, this one's free.
Totally free.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then let's do it. So, we talked about if you want to win the championship game, you got to scout championship players.
That's right.
Right?
Yep.
It's the same thing in building.
That's right.
So we went through the power team and why it's so important to set it up early.
Yep.
Right? And we had our 6 power players.
Yep.
And so went through all of that, got the questions that said, "Hey, can you expand on that?"
Yep.
And actually, which was really cool, they said, "Can you come up with some outside of the box questions that we can ask these different players?" And so we spent some time, we worked on it. We came up with some questions. We're going to do some reading from our questions list so we get them right. So get your pens ready or make sure you're recording this and so you can replay it and take all this down. Or I guess there's a transcript maybe in the show notes. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
We'll let
whatever y'all
figure that out.
Whatever y'all whippersnappers with the technology do now. Anyway, so first thing we were talking about was the builder or general contractor.
Yep.
That was the first key player on our team. And, we talked about what to look for.
Sure.
And just to recap on that, we talked about, ensure that they're licensed.
Yep.
And
if they can be.
Oh, if they can be.
We're not licensed in our state.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yep.
So expand on that real quick.
In our state in Oklahoma, we do not have general contractors licensing. So what can make it difficult for a consumer is really anybody can be a builder, which does make in the free market system, it gives better pricing options to our consumers, but it does not always mean that it'll be the best option at the end of the day.
Ooh. Yeah. So in Georgia, you've got to be a licensed, got to be licensed to be a contractor and pull those permits.
Yep.
Now that also doesn't mean that a builder can't hire his buddy that has a building license to pull a permit for him. Sure. So in your state, they've got to do extra due diligence.
Yeah.
And even in our state, making sure they're licensed means you got to do more due diligence, like perhaps calling the Home Builders Association or going on to the Secretary of State's website in whatever state you're in and searching that business or that licensing department. And that's what I really encourage people to do. So do your due diligence.
Sure.
Look if they have licensing. If not, what's one thing that they could do you think that would help clarify in a state like Oklahoma where there's no licensing?
So what we have attempted to do for us is we'll give multiple. We'll tell people that we'll give multiple references,
Uh,
but what we actually do, which is sometimes shocking, is we give references that will give good references, and we give references that'll give bad
ooh,
references,
that's good.
and we give both, and then we don't tell them who's who,
Ah,
but we do let them know. But as I said in the previous episode, for us, it is black and white, and we have, because of the lessons we've learned in not delighting our customers, we become even more stringent. When we get outside of our pre-construction process or outside of our process, we have had very unhappy customers. When we have customers that dive into the pre-construction process and follow our process, we have delighted customers. So we send our customers off with us. Call these references.
gotcha. So references.
References.
And typically that's going to be homes that are similar
That's right.
to what they want to have built. You know, like
That's
I
right.
don't recommend, definitely one of the key things is verify the type and style of home that the builder's traditionally built or has built that's in line with your expectations of
Yep.
quality, size, scope.
That's right.
Right. And then if you can expand and talk to those customers, whether the builder gives you the references or not.
Yeah, you
Make
can
that
find them
come
either
into-
way.
You can find them either way.
Yep.
Yep. And then, obviously we talked about a commitment to quality
Yep.
and communication style systems, things like that. So we won't beat that up. But how about the top three? Let's give the listener the top 3 questions you must ask before hiring a builder. And these are going to be outside of the box questions.
Okay.
So what would be the first question? I think you wrote it down.
All right. What's the most challenging project you've completed, and how did you overcome it?
Oh, so challenge him.
Yeah. No, I'm asking you. What's the most challenging project you've completed, and how did you overcome it?
That's right. That's a great question to ask. Are you asking me?
Oh, I thought I was asking you.
Why? You're not.
Oh, no.
You want me to build you a house?
Maybe.
No, it'd be good.
Yeah.
And you're going to look for the nuances that align with what your project is.
Yeah.
If it's me, I'm telling them about one of the most challenging in terms of design, style, maybe the topography of the land.
Yeah.
And then I'm actually physically going to take them over there.
Yeah.
Because we
let
have
'em see
great
it.
relationships with our customers. And as long as it's okay with the customer, we got
Yeah.
to respect their privacy, then we'll take them over there and show them the challenges and how we overcome it.
Sure.
Overcome it. I would ask them, number 2 is, how do you handle unexpected changes in the scope or budget?
Yeah.
And
It's a
that's,
good one.
you got to ask the builder that. How do you handle unexpected changes in the scope or budget?
Well, because it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
And the customer needs to know that. I think that everything that we're trying to do here, in my opinion, is we're trying to inform listeners who want to build. And what I want them to know out of this question is there's going to be unexpected changes in the scope and budget.
Yeah.
So you need to ask your builder how they handle that.
Gotcha. Is it early communication? Is it attacking it head on? Is
Right.
it okay? Good.
Yep.
And then the last one, number 3.
Can you share examples of how you've collaborated with architects or designers?
Perfect. Yeah, because that's the collaboration we talked about in the last episode.
Yep. I'm
Perfect.
big on that.
I like that. Those are 3 great outside of the box questions to ask. Red flags.
Avoid contractors who can't provide detailed bid or timeline. Transparency is key.
Perfect.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree. 110%. That's good. Good job on those. Thought that was real good. Now, jumping over to architects.
Okay.
Okay, let's expand on that a little bit. When we talked about architects, we went through number 1, does the architect do projects that match up with the
Right.
style, vernacular, detailing that
Yep.
you want and need and desire in your home?
Yep.
That's number 1. Problem solving skills, because you always run into these problems on the job site and in design.
Mhm.
Can they identify potential challenges and offer solutions early?
Yep.
Conflicts with different elements of the home. How do they do that and how do they handle that? And then collaboration, right?
Mhm.
That's another big one with
is.
the architect, is how do they
Mhm.
collaborate with the builder and the
Are
rest
they
of the
and are they willing to?
and are they willing to? Because some aren't.
Some are not.
That's
right.
right.
Yep.
That's right. And so we created 3 outside of the box questions. So we've got our 3 outside of the box questions of how to know if an architect is right for you.
Yep.
Okay. You want to do the first
I
one?
can do the first one. How do you incorporate sustainability into your designs?
Ooh, that's a good one
How do
because
you
that's
how do
huge.
you
I don't.
Oh,
No,
you're not an
no, we do.
architect.
Yeah. I mean, but the funny thing is we help with that,
That's right.
right? You know, if they're going to do, if the architect draws I'll call it a staggered wall.
Mhm.
That's not the right, I'm I'm using the
Yeah.
improper terminology, but it's like basically staggered stud.
Yep.
We take a 2x6 for the bottom plate
Yep.
and the top plate, and we use 2x4s in the wall.
Yep.
But this 2x4 is towards the inside of the house on the 2x6. The other one is on the outside.
And why are you doing that?
So it allows for continuous insulation
Yeah.
all the way through. There's no breaks where insulation has to stop at each stud,
That's right.
and then you get a thermal,
Yep.
void there, and it's colder. So you want to know if an architect's going to take that into consideration, and will the architect work with the builder to determine if that stagger stud is the best way to go
Yep.
and understand the costs associated.
That's right.
So, they got to be willing to do that. And then I'll do number 2 was, what's your process for ensuring the design stays within budget?
Yep.
I mean, that's huge.
Well, and
Huge.
what makes it huge is I kind of tell customers there's 3 ways for a house to be less expensive. One of them, when you're talking about going back to red flags for a builder, which you should have a builder say, and again, learn this through the hard way. One of them, which is a way we won't touch, builders shouldn't touch, is you can use lesser quality trades, right? Because you can. That's what you can do. You shouldn't do it, though. If that's what you're looking for, that's not what the builder should do. Number 2 is what I call is the fake way. The fake way of lessening your budget, which is reducing selection, the amounts, the allowances in the selections, right? Okay, we'll reduce it. The reason I call that the fake way is, okay, we reduce it on paper, but then we go to the appliance store and we want that wolf package.
Mhm.
Okay. So one way to help on the design, though, is square footage. Man, square footage, and I'm sure you've seen this too with architects. Hey, we want 4,000 feet, right? And they draw us 5,000 feet. It's
Right.
5,500 feet. Well, you really need your study to be this big. I've seen that a lot, and it's like, no, we need it at 4,000 feet so we can meet the budget. If it's 5,000 feet, it's too expensive.
Right, right. And I know we'll talk about this in another episode, but one of the big things is when we're trying to reduce the budget, they've got a house drawn, it's exactly the way they want. One of the biggest challenges that we have, and we're getting off of our questions, but just to let the customer
Well,
a
this is
little
what it's about.
insight. Yeah, a little insight is the architect is going to get rid of cheap square footage. There's a big
Always.
difference.
Yep.
When we get that question all the time. Golly, how much are you per square
Yeah.
foot? I don't know. How much does it cost for your manufacturer to make your car per pound?
Yeah,
It's such a bad question.
it is.
And I feel bad, and I'm sorry if you've asked me that, Mr. whoever's listening in the past, but it's a horrible
It's a
question.
horrible question. If you, what I tell people is the least expensive footage I build is second story footage or basement footage, right? And the reason being is those things are already there. My second story footage is under roof. The foundation's already there. The slab's there. The roof is there. If we take out a game room on your second floor, if your house is round number, say $300 a foot, and we take out 300 feet of a game room, we did not save $300 a foot.
No,
We saved maybe $100 a foot,
that's
right? And you nailed something that I tell all the time. I'm like, not all square footage is equal.
no. Well, and that's what I say. Let's say your house averaged out to $450 a square foot, which is about where we start at
Yeah.
here with our services. If we're at $450 a square foot, like you said, that's not bedroom square footage, because
Nope.
all that is, when you got a bedroom that's 16 by 16,
Yep.
and they want to cut square footage and they make that bedroom 14 by 14 or 12 by 12, yeah, you just reduced, 50, 70,
Right.
100 square feet. But that is paint,
Yeah.
flooring, sheetrock. It's the cheap stuff,
Yep.
right? Whereas a bedroom, like you said, may be $125 square foot room. Where you're really going to save your money is if you start cutting down the size of your kitchen, the
Yep.
amount of appliances, things like that, because a kitchen is a $2,200
Yeah.
a square foot room.
With cabinets, countertops,
Yeah.
appliances, windows.
For my customers that want to talk about price per square foot.
That's right.
It's like, no, 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 no. You know, and all the houses we're seeing now have sculleries, which is another kitchen
Oh, yeah.
with the
Seen a
appliances. And
ton
it's
of
like,
that.
you know, now we're up to $3,000 a square foot space.
Yep.
So, and to what you said about the foundation or the basement cheap
Yeah.
square footage, that's if the foundation's in. And
That's
it's
right.
just unfinished.
And
That's
it's just
if you
unfinished.
finish it.
That's what I mean. You're just
Yeah,
finishing
yeah,
it out. Hey,
yeah.
well, you know what? We won't finish those 2 bedrooms down in the basement. Right. But I already poured your basement.
That's right.
Right. So we're not saving. You might as well just finish those.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly right. And then I would just say the last question for the architect that we had written down was, can you show examples of projects where your design had to adapt to site challenges?
Yeah, it's great.
Because you have topography where, you know, and we have topography. I mean, heck, in Atlanta, we're on the, I think they call it the 9th largest wonder of the world, or 8th, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's Stone Mountain. It's a gigantic piece of granite.
Yeah.
And so you don't know lot from lot what type of rock you're going
Right.
to hit. And it's expensive. Trust
Yeah.
me. You could dig a foundation and only spend 15 grand
Yeah.
in excavation to 25 grand in excavation fees, rough grading, we
Right.
call it. Or you could hit rock and now you're at 75 to 100,000.
Whew.
And that's an unknown,
Right.
right?
It is
So,
an unknown.
you know, and so it's the key is how can the entire power team shift when challenges like that happen? And it's really critical for the architect to be able to explain how they can do that with flexibility in design or quick changes.
We're looping this all back together. It's why you need a power team, because at this point, and you need a power team that collaborates, because at this point, when we've hit rock, this is in the builder's hands, but the builder can't redesign the floor plans if we hit rock in a certain way. We need the interior designer. We need the architect. We need the team, the landscape architect, when we hit these challenges to come up with solutions together.
Yeah. Yeah. And you just touched on interior designer, and that's next on our list. So, you know, we talked early on about the interior designer. You know, we want them to balance the aesthetics and functionality.
Yep.
You know, your home should be beautiful and livable.
Yep.
Is the idea, right? And that's what we talked about in the last episode. Adaptability to the listener style, the owner's style.
Yep.
Right? They should listen to your preferences rather than imposing their own style. We talked about that ad nauseum. Detail orientation.
Yep.
Right?
That's
Great.
the most.
Yeah, I think so too. Great designers know how to choose materials and finishes that fit both your vision and your lifestyle, which is key, you know. And we do have a freedom guide
Yeah.
that I'd be happy to share with our listeners, and that's going to be a double bonus.
Oh, they're getting a couple things.
We got a bonus, and then we're layering a second bonus on there. It's like I can't give away.
We're just blessing so many
Yeah,
listeners.
so maybe at the end we'll give away my boots. Be the third and final bonus.
It'd be good for him.
Yes. So that'll be in the download. I'll include our freedom guide. And
Okay.
it has these tips in there.
Yeah.
But what it doesn't have in there, what I think is critical, is the 3 that again, 3 questions we came up with for you to ask your interior designer, and you came up with these 3. So I'd love to hear them.
All right. How do you approach blending aesthetics with daily functionality?
Ooh.
Which is very important. That goes back to balance of aesthetics and functionality. What's your process for sourcing sustainable or innovative materials?
Interesting. Like,
Yep.
are you asking them to find out, are they going outside of the country? Because there's also logistical challenges.
There is.
Sourcing materials
Mhm.
from outside the country. How long is it going to take to get here? When does it have to be ordered? Important for pre-con.
Yes.
That's fine if your interior designer has something really cool.
Yep.
To go in your home. Spectacular. We want those cool pieces that maybe are heirlooms eventually.
Yep.
Right? But that might need to be sourced months ahead of time. So if you can get that during pre-con.
Yeah, and I love this because this is huge. Yes, builders have vendors and trades and things of that nature. Of the sourcing of special materials when you get into high-end luxury custom homes, interior designers are the ones who really do that. That's why you need them on a power team. A builder asking us, we got good ideas, but the interior designer is really who tells us, this is what we want, this is where you get it, and this is the lead time on it. Perfect.
And we can build our schedule around
it.
That's even
exactly
before
right.
we start.
Exactly.
Spectacular. Those are spectacular. You have one more. Sorry.
How do you handle situations where a client and builder disagree on design choices?
Ooh.
Which is very big because designers aren't builders.
Interesting
And this is
take.
I know I just blew everyone's hair back.
Whoa.
I know. Designers aren't builders. Look, sometimes we really want to work closely with our designers because designers do a great job of being creative. But sometimes, if they are pitching something to a client that maybe we're not privy to, they may get a client dreaming about something that isn't possible.
Mm.
And we need to be able to collaborate through that.
What do you think a big red flag is for interior designers? I've got it. Can I tell you mine first?
Yeah, tell me.
So I had written it down of beware of designers who prioritize aesthetics over practical needs.
Okay.
Designing outside of the customer's reach,
Yeah.
i.e.,
Yeah.
basically, is
that's
what
right.
I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a big thing.
Then like you said too, it needs to be one of two things. Pick a designer that is not going to force their design on you. They'll listen to you. Or if you want to go the Studio McGee model, pick a designer that you love their style and just let them go with it.
Right.
Right? It needs to be one or the other. Because I have customers that are like, well, we want to be involved in the process. Okay. I work with two different type of designers. I work with one that is, I call the hand holder. She will go to the stores with you. She will hold your hand. Yeah, she has her style, but I've seen her put her style to the side to make sure the customer gets what they want. Okay. But if you're a customer that's like, no, I love this designer's style and I just want them to design my home, know what kind of designer you want. Because if you want that, that's great too. That's great too. But if you want hand holding, don't go to the designer that's going to just do their style.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. I think you've hit it there. We can end it with the interior designers on that note. And let's move over to the home automation specialist, AKA AV for those old builders listening in. But yeah, they love to be right. We know that now is AV. Now they're home automation specialists
right.
because of the evolution of home technology and how it's here to stay and it's changing life for the better.
Yep, that's right.
So, when we talked about in the other episode about picking that person to be on your power team, we talked about things like, they should know how to integrate not only speakers and the traditional thing, coaxial cable,
right?
But things that you've always seen in homes, wiring, whatnot, that they should also know how to integrate lighting, security, right? Sound, HVAC, right? All these things are talking to each other.
They are
now.
appliances. Yeah.
We got them here in the kitchen behind us.
Turn them on from your phone.
Yeah. I can make you a coffee right now.
I'd love it.
Okay, let me get it. Are you serious? Do you want light cream or sugar?
I don't like any of that.
Okay. Anyway, we digress. But these are real things, right?
Yes.
That you want to that make life better. And I think that was one of the big things that we look for. Can they do it all? User-friendly designs.
Yeah.
When we're building, it's funny that one, you have a limitation to the price of this stuff. Right. For some of our homeowners, it can get crazy. So that's why we wanted these folks involved up front so we can figure out the pricing that fits the needs of the homeowner when it comes to home automation. Right. But I also notice when we've got our customers that are in their final home, maybe they're empty nesters or getting a little upper, maybe retired. Mm-hmm. They, I'm seeing, want to go back to simple.
Yeah.
And so these systems like the Crestron or the Control 4, where there's a point where there's too much automation.
Yeah, agreed.
And it gets intimidating.
Yep.
And so I also want to make sure we talked about having an AV or a integrator that's also can take those needs into account and balancing that.
Well, they're going to have to because, so much stuff can be done wireless these days, and so I think that choosing the right AV guy that isn't going to push the extremely technical thing on you is great because, you can go get some Lutron light switches at Home Depot, and run them from your phone. So finding somebody that's going to work with you on what you want.
That's right. So Ben, again, back, you gave me the task and you said, Vince, why don't you tell me 3 out of the box
Yeah.
questions to ask an automation specialist when you're in that interview process? And I got it written down here. What I came up with is number one, what's the most innovative system you've installed recently?
Yeah.
The most innovative system you've installed recently.
It's good.
Let it get them to talk about it. And what's interesting, what you might find is most of these home integration companies, if you listen to our first episode, is they're building these things in their office now.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
And they're fully completed and they're just going out in a plug and play.
Yep.
And so I come up with that question because it might not even mean that they're going to send you to a customer's house, but what they might just do is invite you into the back
Yeah.
nitty gritty
Let you see
bones and see it as they're creating it and see the innovation. So
Right.
that would be number one. Number two would be, how do you ensure your designs integrate seamlessly with other team members? How does your lighting controls integrate with that light that the interior designer picked?
That's right.
Or how does your shade controls
Yep.
integrate with that fabric
Yep.
that you wanted to use with your interior designer? How does your builder handle the wiring in the systems that go inside the wall?
Yep.
How does the home automation company work with the electrician to make sure outlets and things are in the right
place.
spot?
Yep.
All that has to be done ahead of time.
That's right.
And
Making
so-
sure returns and supplies are in the right spot, not messing with a certain type of lighting.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah. And so these are questions that's a good quiz, outside of the box quiz questions, and it'll make them feel like, oh, these folks know what they're looking for.
That's right.
And then the third one was, what's your process for troubleshooting or maintaining the systems after installation?
Yeah, that's good.
We know what that means, right?
Oh, yeah.
When does all your system go down?
Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday.
Saturday when the game's on. Saturday when OU's going to beat Georgia.
Yeah. So peace of mind is knowing, who can I get a hold of?
Yep.
Are they available? What's the turnaround time? And do they have a great online service that I might be able to have easy steps
That's right.
to fix it
To
myself?
troubleshoot it myself.
That's right. Yep. Red flags for me would be if they can't explain technical concepts,
Yeah.
and in simple terms.
Yeah.
Explain to me technology, because listen, I can build a house, but it comes to some of the stuff, as my wife will tell you, keep Vince away from the TV,
Oh, yeah.
because all he's going to do is make it
Yeah.
worse.
Same.
And make sure they're great communicators,
Mhm.
because that's important.
Yep.
And that's really basically it. And so I wanted to move to a landscape architect.
Okay.
And review kind of what we were talking about before, what to look for with a landscape architect.
Okay, I mean, so kind of one of them is, do they use native plants or water efficient landscaping techniques? And that depends on what you want, right? What do you want as a customer? What style are you going for? Are you not wanting to use as much water? Those kind of things matter. Creativity with outdoor spaces. Can they design areas for entertaining, gardening, or relaxing? So again, Oklahoma, the builder does it all. Hey, lay out the outdoor kitchen. Hey, all this. We can do it, but landscape architects, that's their job. Pools and outbuildings and outdoor kitchens, that's what they do for a living.
Yeah. Yeah.
Experience with topography challenges. Can they work with steep slopes or drainage issues? Very important to most people.
Oh, yeah.
Very important.
Get the moisture away
Away.
from the house.
Away.
Away. Water is our worst enemy.
Yes, it is, because it will find its way in.
Yeah.
If you don't get it away.
Yeah. And then what are 3, based off of our listeners, their questions, they had some doozies, right?
Yeah.
What were 3 of outside of the box questions that you came up with for a landscape architect?
So how do you ensure your designs are sustainable? And what that really means is for your market. Okay, because we have certain trees that for some reason landscapers, not landscape architects, love to plant, and I promise you, 50% of them die. So
Especially with a cold snap.
a cold snap comes through? So what is your landscape architect picking plants that fit your climate that will sustain?
Why, you don't like palm trees in Oklahoma?
In Oklahoma, yeah, I mean we love them
I
until
live in Big Lawn, I'm in
December.
Atlanta.
Yeah, it always works out good. What's your process for integrating hardscape with natural elements? which is very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Because
Especially with those transitions and topography.
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Can you provide examples of outdoor spaces designed for year-round use, which is very important for you and I's markets because it can be very hot, it can be very cold. And as Vince found out in Oklahoma, his favorite thing are the flies.
That's right. It's horrible.
You
Like
lo-
I just blacked out for a minute.
you loved them.
Oh, it was horrible. Like I had to keep my mouth closed. Remember, I opened my mouth to talk because like my
He
wife
does
says,
that.
why don't you keep your mouth closed? But a fly flew in my mouth. I didn't have time to spit it out before I swallowed it.
I think he's making that up.
No, that was serious.
Either way, in Oklahoma, though, all joking aside, how can we enjoy the patio in July,
Mm-hmm.
not be too hot, and not get attacked by flies?
Yeah, amen.
Are you thinking through that?
And here, mosquitoes are horrible.
Yeah.
Because of the moisture and the
That's
humidity in Atlanta. And so, one of those, what comes to mind to me to wrap this one up is a big red flag for our listeners to keep an eye out for is avoid, and I got this from you, avoid professionals that don't address practical maintenance plans or materials
Mhm.
for your home, your
Yeah,
landscape,
That's right.
just because it stinks to have to plant stuff twice.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. And you want it to, and definitely early on. You get in a new house, you go through your first winter, and 2 of your big trees are dead.
Mhm, that's right. And now I wanted to address the last one,
Okay.
and that's engineers, structural and civil engineers, because they're kind of that last key
They
player.
are.
Mix and match however you want, but these are the key players
Mhm.
on our power team in pre-construction. And we went over before what to look for, problem-solving skills.
Yep.
They should adapt to unique site challenges,
Yep.
right? Like unstable soil or steep slopes.
Mm-hmm.
Collaboration, they need to coordinate closely with the architect.
Yep.
We talked before about this obtrusive beam
Yep.
that has to be there because it's a structural member that the architect doesn't know.
Yeah, that's right.
And they need to figure out, okay, are we going to redesign this to get rid of the beam altogether? Or do we need to use a different type of material like a steel
Yeah.
to get it more sleek, slimlined, low profile
To be able to
make it
carry
work
the load.
and hide it?
That's right.
Right. And that's that collaboration
Yep.
between, and then we also talked about ensuring that they're licensed
Yes.
and have experience in projects like yours. Because I've run into some engineers that, yeah, they're licensed. And can they do your project? Yes. But that's not what they do every day.
Right.
Right. You get engineers that are designing apartment buildings.
Yeah.
They might slow down or not be able to model your home
That's right.
effectively because it's a different mindset.
Single family residential is completely different.
Yeah. Yeah. So you back to me.
Yeah.
You asked me what are 3 outside of
Yep.
the box questions that our listeners should ask an engineer.
Yep.
This is probably one that it'd be odd because usually homeowners won't interview engineers.
They usually
They
don't.
usually just take the builder's reference or the architect's reference. I would say most likely, most of the time, the owner, our listener, is going to ask the architect who's great with your stuff.
That's right.
So that's probably the biggest outside of the box question is ask your architect who do they like to work with
Or your
that
builder.
understands, or your builder, either or.
You are right. I was going to say for our market, rarely does my buyer collaborate with the engineer.
Right.
Right. The engineer, we source the engineer, the architect sources the engineer.
Yeah, exactly. And so I would say the 3 outside of that would be what's the most complex site issue you've resolved?
Yep.
That's to the site engineer.
Yep.
The civil.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 would be how do you balance safety, function, and budget
Yep.
in your designs, right?
Yep.
That's going to be the structural because I've seen them way over engineer houses too
Oh,
to
yeah.
cover their assets.
Yep.
CYA,
Uh-huh.
but they use a different word instead of assets,
Uh-huh.
right?
Is this G-rated?
Yeah, this is a G-rated program.
G-rated with beer.
Kids, the kids aren't drinking the beer. We are. I got a Sweetwater 420 today. But
Has everybody noticed that he changes a beer every time?
hey, variety is the spice of life.
Oh, is it? I thought Miller Lite was, but okay, go on.
No, that's your general pork chop of life. Anyway, but I think that's one of the big things right there. How do you balance that in the
Yep.
design? And number 3 is, can you provide an example of a project where collaboration again with the team was critical to
I
success.
was gonna say it feels
What
like
did they overcome?
I was gonna say it feels like we've used the word collaborate a lot.
I think we're seeing a trend,
Uh-huh.
but how do they overcome these challenges? Because in building, there's always conflicts and challenges,
Always.
but they can always be overcome with the right team that
That's
wants to work together.
That's right.
And, and then red flags, really simple. I had written down if they don't ask detailed questions about your site, they might not have enough expertise for the civil.
Yeah.
Right. Pretty simple. Can you think of anything else for the power team? We just wanted to expand on that for this episode.
Have one.
Have one.
Have one, and make sure the builder you choose wants to collaborate with one.
Okay.
Make sure that the builder you choose is you meet with them, and all they talk about when they're going into pre-construction is the team that they have.
That's right. Yeah. So I think that's it. Let's leave it there. I hope that our listeners got a lot out of this and we answered those questions. Thank you so much for sending those questions in. Please keep them coming. We love doing little bonus episodes of this. Make sure, like I said before, you download the Freedom Guide, which is going to be in the show notes. And if you like this episode, please like and share with your friends. We're always looking to grow the audience.
Oh, yeah.
You can find us on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts nowadays, where all the cool kids are going. And please stay tuned for our next episode in the series. And thanks for tuning in.